Hi everyone, I hope that you're having a great day. Today we're going to learn how to round off, okay? So when we are rounding off, we are asking our number to go to the closest number that ends with 0, okay? And if you think about rounding, okay, it's got the word round in it, okay? So we are making it end in a round number, which is 0. Okay, so if you can go to page 8 of your textbook, we are looking at how to round off. Now, the reason why we do this is sometimes we need to quickly add a whole lot of things or work out things in our head. And it's easier to add numbers that end in 0 than numbers that end in other digits. Say, for example, you're in the shops and you want to quickly work out, do I have enough money for this? And I want to get some grapes and some nachos and some bananas. Now, each of those are different prices. And say, for example, they often end in 99 cents. We actually round off all the time in our head. If something ends in 99 cents, we will often round up to the next whole number, okay? So if something was 1 Rand 99, we already say it's just 2 Rand, okay? So now we know why it's important. Let's now get into how we do it. So if we have a look over here, we are rounding the number 23 off to the nearest 10, okay? Now we've got a number line and we're going up in ones. You've got 20, 21, 22, and it goes all the way up to the number 30. And we've looked at the number 23 and we want to see which one is it closest to. Can you tell me? Is it closest to 20 or is it closer to 30? Okay, now you can already see that it's closer to 20. So we would actually round the number 23 down to 20. Okay, 23 is closer to 20 than to 30. And so we write 23 rounded off to the number 20. Now, if you have a look at that equal sign, it's actually a little bit squiff. So when we round off, we use this sign. It's kind of like an equal sign, but it's a little bit round. It's a little bit squiff, okay? So that is saying that the number 23 is closest to the number 20. It doesn't mean that they are the exact same number, but if we were rounding it off, it's closest to 20. Okay, so let's have a look at the number 144. It's not in your textbook, but I just thought we would have a look at it. We want to round it off to the nearest 10. Now, when you are rounding off, there's a fun little rhyme that I like to use, and it says, 5 or more, raise the score, 4 or less, let it rest. Okay, so if we are rounding off to the nearest 10, that means that this number, the tens place, is what we are rounding off to. So your options are, what is the closest tens to 40? It's always the number that you see already, so it's going to be 40, or what's 10 more than 40? It is 50. So these are our two options. We can either, if we had a number line, it would be 40 on the one side, 50 on the other. So if we are rounding this one, is 144 closest to 140 or 150? And now what tells us that is this number to the right of it. Now if this number is 4 or less, then you let it rest at 140. But if this number is 5 or more, then you would raise the score to the next 10. Okay, so is this number 4 or less, or is it 5 or more? It is 4, so we are going to let it rest. So the closest number to 144 is 140. Let's have a look at the next one. So we have got the number 32. Now we need to see what our first two options are. We need to round this number either to the number 30, or what's our next option? We can't go less, so 20 is not an option. It's not even close. It's either this one over here or 10 more. So what is 10 more than 30? 30 plus another 10 is 40. So these are our two options. Now, let's remember our rhyme. We're going to look at this number. If this number is 4 or less, then we round it down to 30. If this number is 5 or more, then we raise it up to 40. Okay, so which one do you think this goes into? Well, 2 is less than 4. So if this number is 1, 2, 3, or 4, then it would be 30. If this number is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, then it goes up to 40. So therefore, we are rounding this one to 30 because this number is the number 2. Now, let's have a look at the number 89. Can you already think about what it is rounded to? What are our options? You've got this number, which is 80. And what is 80 plus 10? 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90. Okay, so those are our two options. Now remember our rhyme. 4 or less, let it rest. 5 or more, raise the score. So is this number 1, 2, 3, or 4? No, so we can't make it 80. Is this number 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9? Yes, it is 9. So we're going to raise the score. So this is therefore 90. So 89 rounded off to the nearest number is 90. If it helps you to draw a number line like this one and to see what it is closest to, go for it. But remember, if something ends in the number 5, it always goes up. Although it's slap bang in the middle. So if we read over here, although it's slap bang in the middle, always has to go up. Okay. Rather round up and overestimate a price than round down and not have enough money. Okay, so that's why if something ends in 5, you always go up. That's why it's 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. Okay, now you're going to do exercise 4A on your own. Have fun, everyone. And now we're going to do one more example, okay, of how to round off to the nearest 100. So you've already finished exercise 4A and you've rounded each of those numbers off to the nearest 10. So for example, 44 that would have been rounded off to 40. Well done. 57 would have been, would it be 50 or would it be 60? Remember, this number to the right is telling you what to be. So 7 is a big number, okay? So it's going to go up to 60. Now we're going to do rounding off to the nearest 100, okay? So the number line is telling us we're no longer jumping in ones. We're actually now jumping in tens. This is 210, 220, 230. The little lines stand for 5. So this would be 205, 210, 215, 220, 225, 230, 235, and so on. Okay, so now we are rounding off to the nearest 100. Okay, so what that looks like, I'm going to use the same examples that I did before, but now we don't want to round off to the nearest 10. We want to round off to the nearest 100. I've got the number 144. So now we are looking for the nearest 100. So our options, what do you think they're going to be? We could either round this number to 100, or what's 100 more than 100? 200. Those are our two options. And again, the number to the right of the number that you're looking at is the one that tells us what to do. So before our units was telling us what to do for our tens. Now our tens are telling us where to go for hundreds. We are going to round off 144 and it's going to be rounded down to 100. Remember that if this number is 1, 2, 3, or 4, so if you've got that number representing 10, 20, 30, or 40, it's going to stay the same. So this will be 100. Okay. And if this number was 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, then it would go up and the answer would be 200. So let's try the number 184. Would it stay the same as 100 or would it go up to 200? Well, this number is telling us that it needs to go up. So it's going to be 200. And what about 154? Do you think it needs to go down or does it need to go up? Remember, these ones all need to go up. So it's going to go up to 200. Okay. And what about 104? Didn't actually discuss that earlier, did we? Now, 104 is as close to 100 as you can get. So actually, if this is 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, then it's going to go down. Okay. Now, remember, when you are rounding off, your numbers need to end in 2 zeros to the nearest 100. When you're rounding off to the nearest 10, your answer needed to end in 1 0. Okay. So when you're rounding off to the nearest 100, you're making your answer end in round numbers. So you're rounding it off. It's approximately, it's not exactly the same as 184, but 184 is closer to 200 than it is to 100. Okay, so let's look at the number line to help us. So if we've got the number 230, 230 over here is much closer to 200 than it is to 300. And again, that number 3 is telling us to go down. The 278, ignore the number 8, okay? Just look at the number 7. It is telling the 2 to go up to 300. And you can see that this number is much closer to 300 than it is all the way to 200 over there. You're now going to do exercise 4B on your own. And you're going to have a look at the underlying number and decide which 100 is it closer to. Okay, so is 280 closer to 200 or is it closer to 300? That number 8 gives you an indication. Remember, 4 or less, let it rest. 5 or more, raise the score. Okay, so is it either going to be 200 or 300? Remember to write this down and then write your answer. Same for the next ones. And then for question 2, you're going to round each number off to the nearest 100. Either you can use a number line so you can copy what this one has done and done the intervals and see which one is it closer to. Is 460 closer to 400, closer to 500? Or you can use my little rhyme. If this number is 4 or less, then you've got to let it rest. But if this number is 5 or more, you've got to raise the score. Okay, so that number 6. Is it 4 or less or is it 5 or more? Okay, everyone, I hope that you have a great time doing your exercises. Please don't forget to rule off with a pen and to also mark your own work. Have a great Thursday. Bye.